This is where the memory of a smell comes from. Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. And say hello to our friend, Memory of a Skull. So I will be, per popular demand, massive demand, be reviewing, unboxing, first impression and review. Oh, let's see how far we get. Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR. Odeur. Memory of an odor. That sounds terrible. Memory of a smell. Well, it's a memory. Let's see. Important to note, the card on which I sprayed the fragrance 2 weeks ago when I first posted in my Insta stories my first reaction to this fragrance, to which then all of y'all's en masse replied, please Dacob, review it. You know, I had to. Just quick note, 2 weeks in, this card, and I only sprayed it 3 times 2 weeks ago, it still smells. It still smells. How does it smell? We'll get to that later. How does this card smell after 2 weeks? Let me put our memory skull to the side. Okay. I purchased it because I don't do things halfway, and I just didn't get a sample. I purchased it, and I'm going to unbox it, and I'm going to live with it, and I'm going to wear it, and I'm going to research it. That's why I'm going to say this video will be practically first impressions, even though I already have my first impressions. But I will need to use up a good amount of it to be able to really deliver a verdict. I don't like judging things too quickly. You know, there's a judgment you deliver for first impressions, and then there's, which is a first impression feeling. You're honest about it. You know, it's like your gut feeling, what it tells you, and then I just kind of say what I feel. And then usually my gut feeling is right in these cases, but then I, of course, also have to understand the nuances of a fragrance. I do believe that work went into it. Let's see how much work went into it, but there is an idea there, there's a concept there, and we're going to get to the text of the concept, which is lengthy, so take a drink, a tea, a coffee, or whatever you need, or spray this fragrance on, and let's start the journey, because it's going to take a while. A journey into the memory of an odor. Let's pull out the memory. Ooh, bougie. Look at that. The inside is also printed like the outside. Stars. Yes, I have read the inspiration of the packaging, where it comes from. We're going to get to all that. You know. So when we pull it out, is there anything special hidden on the inside? Any esoteric messages, Alessandro Michele, that you copied and pasted from? No? Nowhere? No. Okay. It's just a copy and paste of... we're going to get to exactly what it is from Padova. I'm going to read you the text in a minute. Oof, the paint used, the printed color for this is really, this has a bad smell. This paper is not good. Doesn't smell good. Okay, well, but that's fine. We don't have to smell the paper. Anywho, will you get back in there or not? Yeah, you will? Okay. 60 milliliter. Could have gone for the 40 ml. Could have gone for the 100, but I went for the mid-class 60. This is the bottle. Take the iPad out of the way. Packaging, let's put this nicely. Proportions. It has a heft to it. It is metal and then plastic as well, so it's like aluminum and plastic. You have the Gucci inscription on top. It has heft. I'm surprised by that. Let's turn this to the right side. Paper, sticker, which will peel off. Doesn't seem very sturdy. This looks quite cheap, the sticker. The fragrance is distributed and made by Coty, which doesn't make us hope for much. 3 sprays. Ooh, look at that. Okay. Gosh. So heavy. Such a chemical burden in the opening. But there's also something interesting about it as well. It is, in terms of memory, it is kind of a herbal tea turned into, a lot of herbal tea turned into perfume, is what it is. I'm allergic to chamomile, by the way. I can't drink it, nor can I, well, I can put it on my skin to relieve, I don't know, but like internally, I don't react well to it if I drink it. But anyway, okay. Let me read to you quickly as this herbal tea settles down. Let me read to you this long text. And by the way, when a brand presents, I mean, I love that somebody, makes the effort to go through it, to write a long text, to describe the fragrance and the journey to get to the fragrance. Like, I get it. If there's a lot of description, it's like you're giving away everything. There's no space left for the magic, for the viewer or the consumer in this case to kind of get to experience the magic on their own if you give too many explanations. But also, too much explanation can also mean that you're afraid that the perfume alone, that the product alone doesn't have the strength to get the message across on its own. You know what I mean? But let's read this text. Bear with me. So Alessandro Michele personally writes, everything comes from my obsession with scents. My memory is primarily olfactive, so for me, my sense of smell is my memory. I thought that deep down, perfume is that thing that even with your eyes closed brings you to a precise moment in space and time. When we began to work on Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR, I tried to imagine the recollection of a scent that couldn't easily be identified. A hybrid scent that resembles memory as much as possible. That's what Alessandro Michele writes. Then further on, the description from the brand states, scent is in our subconscious, attached to fragments of moments lived, coloring them with emotions of all-consuming joy, of intense love, of overwhelming sadness. A scent can gift a moment again, so an experience from the past can be relived in the now. For a new Gucci fragrance story, scent becomes an explorer of the power of memories, bringing them back from the past and making them live in our present. Skipping backward and forward in chronological time, the present and past are connected by a unique bridge that projects directly into the future, presenting a new universal Gucci scent. A perfume unassigned with a gender or a time, presenting Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR. Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR, and now where is it? Okay. Is an elixir that transcends gender by its individuality to establish a new olfactive family, mineral aromatic. The transcendent accord features unexpected and enigmatic ingredients and is defined by a note of Roman chamomile. Alessandro Michele envisioned this particular flower inside the scent, blended by master perfumer Alberto Morillas. Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR's Roman chamomile is structured with Indian coral jasmine petals for tenderness, precious musks for depth, and noble woods including warm, luminous sandalwood and airy, subtle cedarwood, a powerful tree with deep roots and an irresistible vanilla note. Disrupting, and there you have disruptive. That's such a fashionable word at the moment. All the brands use the word disruptive. This is so disruptive. Disrupting the traditional olfactive families that classifies fragrances, Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR establishes a new modern fragrance category, mineral, which is a mix of scents and emotions, airy, musky, transparent, and authentic. Mineral was classically used to describe facets of some fragrances, and combined with aromatic, it becomes the center of Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR. So we have this copy and paste mentality of social media. You copy and you paste, you don't produce anything new. So can you notice what they're doing? They're describing something as completely new, and then the sentence after that they state that it's already been done. So classic Alessandro Michele style and Gucci at the moment. It's all just copy and paste. Ideal for social media, mind you. The musky mineral accord is the keystone of the fragrance. It links all the other olfactive elements together with pure softness. That's what Alberto Morillas tells us. I had to think quite carefully about why Alessandro chose chamomile. When I started to work with the scent of chamomile itself, then I understood, Morillas said. No one had done it before. Chamomile is known all over the world. Everyone has smelt it at some point, but as a dream, a memory of childhood, something timeless, and never in a fragrance. This flower is much underestimated and is a plant with an exceptional olfactive signature. Roman chamomile has grown around Rome in terraced gardens since the 16th and 17th centuries, giving a green aromatic scent. The sunny and hardy flower has an unparalleled character, radiating with joy to a sweet aromatic dry down with honey and green apple. Indian coral jasmine nature print, registered trademark by the way, here you go, something that Coty probably owns the rights to, so if this ever moves to another distributor, it won't smell the same. A note exclusive to Gucci, collected in India, the star-shaped flower emits a more powerful scent and colors at night, remaining lighter and fresher during the day. Referred to as Queen of the Night, the official flower of Bengal, this unique quality of jasmine has a honeyed temper and an orangey coral-colored heart. Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR's dry down is an evanescent cloud, evolving on skin with a rhythm of musks and iconic woods, cedarwood and sandalwood. The woody architecture of the fragrance brings intensity to its structure. Alessandro Michele discovered a vintage Gucci fragrance bottle, and here we go again with a copy and paste, and was inspired by its design for Gucci Memoire D'UNE ODEUR's bottle. Just like Lagerfeld found the 255 squished in a box and redid it squished with the fold. Grooved like a column from an ancient world, the bottle casts a refined silhouette in heavy transparent light green glass, crowned with shiny gold cap. Printed gold foil frames the label, revealing the Gucci logo together with the name of the fragrance, which is this, that sticker that looks so cheap to me, and that is going to peel off at some point. The packaging comes from the past, inspired by an old Gucci perfume from the early 90s, and again, copy and paste. I didn't want the bottle to take on a shape or size that is too feminine or too masculine, because the perfume could be very much for women or very much for men, Alessandro Michele. Now, of course, he's just catering into this whole concept of, gender fluidity nowadays. We know that perfume is anyway genderless, so why the need to kind of... I don't know. I mean, it's always good to reiterate it and to say it that perfume is genderless. But to say like you're working on a genderless, but what's a genderless bottle? Honestly, like what makes a bottle more feminine or masculine? Like, honestly, you guys, like just whatever. Don't get me started on that. Symbolizing a starry night sky. And the earthly world that gazes up at it in marvel. The perfume's green box is decorated with celestial firmaments inspired by the paintings of Roman and Gothic churches of the Middle Ages and Renaissance in Europe. This particular pattern recalls Giotto's frescoes in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padova. Yada, yada, yada. You got a green background with stars on top. And then, poetry is not there. But you tell us this deep story. This is the problem. Also at school, they always taught us whenever we would have writing class. Or when you describe your own artwork, you have to kind of learn to also criticize your own artwork. So if this doesn't inspire the poetry, don't explain it as something more than it is. You know what I mean? The frescoes from Padova, Giotto, like you're elevating it to a level of unprecedented art in a green bottle with golden stars. Packaging, sorry. So if the viewer, the consumer doesn't see it immediately, but then he has to read this long text to get there, then something is off with your artwork. The guiding element of the entire campaign is the idea of freedom. The idea of the non-era, the non-place, the non-social. I pictured a world that was a fresco of mythological life in which the family is a private community with its own social framework, where total freedom of expression prevails and where the roles of people and things aren't clear. I pictured the memory of an authentic memory. Alessandro Michele. Oh boy. Okay, and here again, you know, it's like saying everything and nothing. You know, the memory of an authentic memory. It's the non-era, the non-place, the non-social. But then if we actually watch the ad, the 1 minute advertisement video, it's like a hippie commune with hints of club kids aesthetics and kind of the youth of today rediscovering 90s goth, but still hippie and still filmed as if it were filmed 16 millimeter, maybe it even was, or 8 millimeter for that matter, and then digitalized, or maybe just filmed in digital and then kind of just added some sort of, you know, filter to make it look aged, whatever. Anyway, it's like escapism to its highest degree, where this hippie commune, well, let's get, you know, 60s. Okay, here we go, late 60s, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with Tarantino's portrayal of the Manson family. It could be some cult family living together. They like dancing around fire in these ruins around Rome, and everything looks quite dangerous and not appetizing. It doesn't make you want to be a part of that family. It's actually very antisocial. I guess it's part of his non-concept, non-era, non-place, non-social in terms of really isolated. A gathering of a free-spirited family who embrace life by living freely and making memories together. An idea by Alessandro Michele. In diverse settings on the outskirts of Rome, the family are captured dancing, picnicking at sun-kissed ruins of Canale Monterano, and in and around their family home. Montecalvello Castle, a medieval castle featuring a fountain in a courtyard and enigmatic frescoes inside and out. Director of the campaign, Glenn Lutchford, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, imbues the video and images with vibrant nostalgia under the artistic direction of Christopher Simmons. The print advertising campaign is composed like intimate photo albums that show each member's character and their intimate rapport with one another. Maybe they were kind of hinting at the fact that every character portrayed in this advertisement campaign represents an ingredient of the fragrance, but they don't say it actively. I hope it didn't represent it, because if you watch the ad campaign, it's like, yeah, they don't say much. Singer, songwriter, and actor Harry Styles, God, leads the cast of The Family, which includes an eclectic and universal mix of talents and models. And then all the names and blah, blah, blah. We don't need to blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, there's a huge list of people. Okay, the fragrance is available from August 1st, 2019 as a 40, 60, and 100 ml eau de parfum, and as a 30 milliliter rollerball bottle. Top notes are chamomile and almonds, or bitter almond. Then we got middle notes, jasmine and Indian jasmine, as well as musks. Base notes are vanilla, very minimal, cedar, and sandalwood. But the chamomile is listed as the most predominant part of this fragrance. Together with that registered trademark thing that I mentioned before, which of course I cannot find now, that I'm rereading the text because it's so... Ah, here. Indian Coral Jasmine Nature Print registered trademark. Okay, geez. Let's smell it now that it's... some time has passed. And it's interesting. Unfortunately, being a coty fragrance, this doesn't have much natural, if any, natural ingredients in it. It does feel very synthetic. Now, I do know that, I do remember that I was quite negative about the first impressions of this fragrance. However, giving it more thought, and especially now we get to this little paper here, the dry down, which does not leave, there's some chemical claw, and I mean like a claw. Something synthetic has been developed here, you guys. It kind of grabs you and it doesn't let go. And on this paper, 2 weeks in, The paper has not been protected in an envelope anyway. It's just been laying around in the open, fresh air. It still smells very intensely. So there's this claw is the chamomile, I guess. They say there's a hint of apple there as well. Yeah, I can understand it, but it's spicy. It's peppery to me. And again, the synthetic aspect of it is a peppery notion of something. Anyway, copy and paste concept. This is something I'll never stress enough to repeat 1,000 million times. Social media nowadays and the internet in general is all about copy and paste. There's almost no really well-developed or designed concept out there, or artistically speaking, not many people produce original content. That's the word I was missing. Original content. Mostly it's copy and paste. And quite frankly, Alessandro Michele's concept of Gucci, it fits so well to social media today. And within the framework of social media also, in particular, you know, all the social media platforms, because it speaks that copy and paste language. Most of his collections are copy and paste of different influences and here and there, and mosaics, puzzles, just put together, and it's a collage of nothing new, but he tries to kind of create a context of something new by uniting a lot of things that we already know and creating an association of images. And here's another very fashionable word at the moment, disruptive. And another very fashionable word at the moment that, strangely enough, they didn't use yet in the marketing strategy for Gucci, but I'm sure they're going to start sooner or later because it is very fashionable, is to use the word sustainable, sustainability within fashion. Now, you know how hard it is to really be sustainable in fashion? It's almost impossible because fashion industry is one of the most waste-producing businesses and industries in the world. But anyway, a lot of these brands love to throw that word here and there, sustainability, when in fact, very little, if none of it, is really sustainable. Disruptive is, again, like disruptive is the new black. Sustainable is the new black. Sustainability is the new black. Copy and paste, ancient column, made into a bottle. Copy and paste of a column into a bottle. Found a 90s bottle, 90s Gucci fragrance or bottle, and then made it more modern. Copy and paste. The Giotto's frescoes in Padua. Copy and paste. A memory of a smell. That's copy and paste too. You have something you already know. You're copying it and you're pasting it in this liquid. So conceptually, it really fits to the Gucci theme, how Alessandro Michele is dealing with Gucci in general. So I have to say, very consequent communication, language. Do we like what we're given? I'm not talking about the smell. I'm talking about the concept. Do we like? I personally don't. But a lot of y'all's like it. So to each his own. I'm not judging the people who like it. Never have and never will. What I am judging, however, is judging. Let's say the proper word is I'm questioning it. I'm doubting it. I'm not believing it. I'm not buying into it. You know what I mean? I bought this fragrance because I want to honestly review it. I don't want to just diss it by smelling it off a piece of paper or having a sample of 1.5 milliliters given to me. I want to live with it and work with it so that I can deliver. And yes, I repeat, this is first impressions, you guys. I know it's already has the heft of a review, but if I deem it, worthy after using it as much as possible, I will give it another go in another video. So this is labeled under first impressions. But anyway, back to the smell. It's fine. I wish Coty didn't make it. I think the concept of this chamomile is very interesting. Floral fragrance that is kind of a herbal tea with hints of this kind of archaic or ancient even symbology behind it. The utilization of certain herbs also for health reasons, almost esoteric reasons as well. That's all fine, you know. That's all good. I'll give him that, you know, whatever. That's cool. That's all fresh and new in terms of we're used to smelling sweet chulis, and this ain't one of them. But I understand that it's not liked by most, because it really is not what we smell on the market nowadays. And for that, I do give Coty and the Gucci team, the perfumers, whoever worked on this thing, Morillas, I do give them credit for that, because in a way, it is daring, because in the world we live in today, everybody's playing it safe. Everybody's playing it safe. So this perfume, as synthetic as it is, does come as a breath of fresh air. Now, the way it's packaged and conceived and the aesthetic of it is not a breath of fresh air. All of this guts to go. You know what I mean? And just kind of a tabula rasa, you know, we bring back our memory of a skull. I mean, even this is not original at all. But somehow I feel like this would have been a better approach to it. I'm not saying making a bottle in the shape of a skull, that would be too tacky, but instead of, because you see, this is the thing. Playing with memory of smell, because the perfume is called, you know, Memoire D'UNE ODEUR. I can't even pronounce it properly. But anyway, the memory of an ode, the memory of an odor. You remember how the odor smelled like? Yeah. I say this in a lot of my reviews about perfumes, that how to say this to not scare people off. The fascination that I have for fragrances is because they connect me to life, yes, but also very much to death. Death, why? Because, and I describe this, I think, in particular in detail in my review of Chanel's Gardenia fragrance. I talk about the fact that perfume, when you spray it on your skin, and you spray it on, you give it life. It's like birth. And you have the top notes, which is the fresh discovery of life. The fragrance kind of starts growing and starts discovering life. And then you have a thing called the heart note. The fragrance enters puberty and falls in love for the first time and feels love for the first time and kind of goes and, you know, grows up. And then we got the dry down. This is what I want to say, the dry down. The dry down is what starts kicking in after you've reached your peak. And that dry down is, to me, associated to death, which is fine. Listen, in our society, we don't talk about death enough. We tend to push it away as much as possible, think that it's never gonna come and get us. Well, guess what, boo? It's gonna come and get you, and it'll get you sooner than you think, because that's how it is. When it takes, it takes. And the beauty and poetry of a fragrance is that it makes that notion of death just that much more acceptable and pleasant and poetic in a way, because as the dry down of a perfume kicks in and as that perfume starts dying on your own skin, you realize that everything perishes and dies. And with that death, which has a smell, as it fades away, you're comforted by the fact that actually, this is a subconscious thing. I just think about it a lot, so for me it's become conscious. There's a comforting notion in knowing that you're still there. And you have that power to respray, to reapply a fragrance and give it life again, give it birth again. And relive the cycle of life, of that short lifespan into death of a fragrance on your skin. This is why I love to reapply fragrances throughout the day. This is why I love to wear different fragrances throughout the day. Because I want to relive new lives within a... Dacob, diction. Within a 24-hour day, I want to live many different lives, if that makes any sense. And perfumes really help you do that. So, and particularly if you're choosing a daring name in a very, very significant, heavy or heavy or full of significance name like Memoire D'UNE ODEUR, that's the time when you play with the concept of life and death. Hence, Mr. Skull here. I know he's a bit, you know, this would be a one-to-one notion, but I'm not saying you should use the skull in your advertisement campaign, but the concept of death. If you're going to write a text that took 20 minutes to read to describe the fragrance and never ever do you mention death in the memory of a smell, then in my opinion, you have missed the mark completely. Because this would have been much more powerful had it had a more dark connotation. And this is because you should have played with contrasts. Something so herbal and medicinal almost in a way, almost medicinal. And we're talking about chamomile, which is a medicinal plant at the end of the day. It's something that helps you get healthy again. It's something that helps you live longer, if you may. But at the same time, it's something that lives so short on the skin. It's something that evaporates and is gone pretty soon and takes some time to get used to. So there's a lot of these paradoxes within the concept of this fragrance, and you did not touch base on one single one of them, none of them. But you did invest all the money in Harry Styles to have him portray the member of the hippie family of your own personal Manson family from Rome. No, totally missed the mark on that. And that's because Alessandro Michele is obsessed with all of this kind of escapism and hippie notions of 60s and 70s, which to me worked, you know, at the beginning, but you can't keep repeating and reutilizing. I mean, he's obsessed with it. Also the way he dresses and he looks and how, you know, he styles himself. I get it. It's his shtick. He loves that. And that's his contribution to Gucci. And when he's gone, that will stop. But as long as he's there, I guess that's going to stay. But when it comes to this fragrance, mixing a medicinal plant like chamomile that is supposed to elevate you, make you more light, with these colors and the stars and everything is light and the sky and giottos of frescoes. I know if you think about the sky and the stars, you think also about death. You don't really. You could, but the way that this is portrayed with the green hues, it's just not, it doesn't go there for me. It should have. Now envision this aquatic mineral, as they call it, a new concept, which right after they say it's a new concept, they said it's been done before. So again, a copy and paste. Envision the aquatic mineral and the medicinal plant with a darker marketing. Why am I saying this? Because on the skin, when you wear it and when you smell it, the musky aspect of it is scary. And this is what got me hooked onto actually deciding ultimately to purchase this one and really go and test it out. Yes, it was your, you were telling me, Dacob, please get a review. We would love to see a review. We would love to see a review. We would love to see a review. But what ultimately made me really purchase it was the fact that this little card for 2 weeks kept smelling so intensely. And there was something scary about that to me. It just doesn't want to die. It doesn't want to, it doesn't die. It just sticks there. And I'm like, how? What sort of concoction did Conti cook up in that lab that sticks to this plastified paper for so long? It's like, envision like a Yoda. 900, we don't know how old Yoda is, you know, and 800, some people speculate, 800, 900 years old, lying in that bed. Yoda went peacefully. Yoda, you know, was gone, just disappeared, but lived 800 or 900 years. And I have the feeling like this one is at the beginning, you know, and it's just like 2 weeks is already 800 years for fragrance to stick around, you know, for longevity. 2 weeks longevity? Are you kidding me? Yes, I know it's only on paper, but unlike Yoda, after 2 weeks compared to, you know, comparable to 900 years, it's like, you got to go. Time to go. No, it doesn't want to. And that scared me. And I think it's the musks. Maybe it's the musk aspect of this fragrance that kind of is so cloying. But not cloying in the way of a cloying powerhouse fragrance from the 80s would be. More cloying in the sense of like it cloys to something and it doesn't let go. But it's not a bad smell. There's this chamomile quality to this 2-week-old smell. And it does smell dusty in a way. Like a dusty powder, you know, like that kind of, let's say the tea bag tore and tiny particles of dust that were inside of the residue of the plant, of the chamomile, just kind of flying in the air. Still smells synthetic, but it's there. And it's fascinating to me because of that particular obvious manipulation of human hands in the laboratories to create the synthetic registered trademark copywritten molecule that sticks around. It's like toying with life and death. And this is why the memory of an odor, you know, of a smell, is fascinating, because somebody had to artificially create something synthetic to make you, to trigger something inside of you to think about the memory of a smell. But a memory of a smell is something very natural, because the memories we have in our minds are our memories, you know, and here we are trying to create new memories or trying to trigger memories by letting us smell synthetic molecules. So to me, this is an example of man playing God, because they're playing in laboratories, building recipes to A, extend the life of a fragrance, because 2 weeks on paper is long, and B, project inside of us who wear this a memory of a fragrance, a memory of something from our childhood. But how can this thing unlock a memory of an odor? Actively, just putting that in the title, because, you know, I always say in my reviews, perfumes are like keys. They open doors. They do trigger something inside of us that allows us to access either past lives or visions or dreams or something, because every time a perfume inspires you to a certain scene or scenario or moment, that magic happens, because maybe you haven't even ever lived that moment. Sometimes when in my reviews, I depict landscapes and situations and scenarios that I've never thought of before, but the smell inspired me them or to them, or led me towards them, took me on a journey towards them. So that is very fascinating, and that is the strength of fragrances. But to actively, and that's something that fragrances just do, that's what they do, it's their power. But to actively name a perfume, a memory of an odor, is like telling you already ahead of time, before you even smell it, you're going to have to envision something from the past. Or even, I don't know if they're playing it even more conceptual. They might be saying, well, this is a memory of what a perfume was in the past. Let's just say that this product is 5,000 years in the future, where there are no fragrances, where there's no perfume, where there's no molecules for this sort of thing, where maybe whatever creatures are there don't have a nose, or I don't know, the way of smelling things just doesn't work the way it works today. Just a totally different concept. And then this thing comes and from the past, or is produced, I don't know, in some lab again, and says, okay, here, well, this is something that used to be called 5,000 years ago perfume. And what is a perfume? We don't know anymore now, 5,000 years ahead. But smell it. You don't know what the verb to smell means. Well, however, whatever sense is used 5,000 years from now that could simulate the notion of smelling, whatever, just put this close to that part of your body, or whatever sort of shape entities, living entities, are going to have 5,000 years, if there even will be any. This will give you the memory of an odor. It will let you understand the memory of an odor. So the name of a fragrance like that is actually genius, because this is a perfume, right? So they're telling us that a perfume is not going to smell like a perfume, but it's a key that will unlock in us, in ourselves, the memory of an odor, not of a perfume in particular, but of a particular scent or smell. again, very conceptual, and again, like pushing it very far, and it's an arrogant concept. You know, if you think about it, it's like I can do anything and everything. So if you're putting so much on your plate, and if you're the scientist or the designer or the perfumer who's creating this, and you name it like this, that means that you have set the bar so high for yourself that it's almost impossible to deliver with today's technology and chemistry knowledge that we have. It's almost impossible to deliver that height. So clever again of them to take an ingredient that's rarely used in perfumery, which is this chamomile plant, which is super synthetic here. At least that's how it smells to me. Thank you, Coty. And you play with the notion of something that we do know, because sooner or later, some point in our lives, we did smell chamomile tea. Maybe we drank it. Maybe we used it to linder some, I don't know, to, you know, bruises on the face. You know, you would put chamomile like tea. You would dump like cotton tabs in it and put it on your eyes. It relaxes you, blah, blah, blah. You know, anyway, it has a smell. So maybe that's something. It was a clever thing to do, but guess again, because there are other smells, plants, flowers, ingredients that are even more memory inductive or inducive and do not necessarily have such a mass memory appeal as does chamomile. Well, at least in some countries it does. I mean, in all of Europe, everybody knows chamomile. In America, everybody knows it too. So you're setting the bar so high with this name and then with that huge description of the fragrance so that actually you're making it impossible for this poor smell to have a chance with us. Because you're already telling us, we've set the bar so high, you're going to love this. This is going to be so deep, so important. It's so special. There's so much depth to it, so much to know about it, so much concept. It's almost like academia level, you know. You're making basically all the consumers potentially feel like, well, they won't even be able to grasp it really. So you make people feel kind of bad about themselves. And then we have the smell. I'm smelling it now. And the smell, of course, does not deliver all that is promised by the marketing and the title and the name and the descriptions. Of course it doesn't. But if we forget all of that and we just stick to the concept of life and death and how fragile everything is, then this fragrance works for me because it is very delicate. As artificial and synthetic as it smells in some of its nuances and facets, it still has a certain fragility and delicateness to it that touch me. And this makes me feel alive in a way. Also sad because it does, again, I repeat, it does bring awareness of how perishable we are and that death is around the corner. And you know, they do, and it's not very sweet. It's a relatively dry smell. They say there's hints of honey in it too, but I would still not say it's sweet. But strangely enough, it does do one magic thing. Despite it not being sweet, or as sweet as a sweet chuli is, which we're so darn overused to smelling nowadays, it does give a memory of death. And by that I mean, in literature, death is often described, in poetry in particular, death is described as, well, when somebody describes the arrival of death or the presence of death, corpses or whatever, it's described as, how does death smell? The sweet smell of death. Why is that? Well, when the body dies, the first thing that starts decomposing in our bodies are the sugars. This is also one of the reasons why all those, poop flies fly really quickly to the corpses or carcasses and lay there. eggs and the larva starts growing there, and that's how most, that's how the police can discover actually when the exact death came, because these flies really sense out that sweet smell of death very soon, miles and miles away, and they fly straight to it and they lay their eggs. Because the sweet smell of death is the first smell. Of course, afterwards come all the other bad smells that go with it, but that particular sweetness can be found, if any one of you would like to kind of copy and paste that, lilies. Purchase lilies, the ones that smell so intensely, so sweet. As they start fading and dying, the dry down of the lily in the house, when they kind of start turning brownish, the colors start fading, there's that rotting, sweet smell of lilies. That's why they're also mostly used in funeral homes to cover up other smells as well. But, that's another story. But anyway, a lily comes very close to it, so you could test that out. I would have maybe placed some lily concept in here as well. I don't know. It could be that poetic if it had a slightly different name, if it had a slightly different packaging, and if it had a slightly different distributor other than Coty, So it does have potential because the smell has that potential. And also, mind you, don't forget, we're so used to smelling these sweet choulis and the ouds and the sandalwoods nowadays. So it's kind of, our noses are used to thinking that that's a good perfume. Many noses, the average nose. So that this comes as a surprise because it's been a long while that somebody has concocted something like this. With this type of ingredients. So that is an interesting thing because it's an exercise for us to get used to smelling something else, and realizing that perfumes can be something else, not just the sweet choulis and the ouds and the sandalwoods. There you have it, guys. This was a long first impressions video, but I love the fact that it made me think. So Mr. Alessandro Michele, despite all the criticism that I do have, I have to hand it to you or your creative team. There is potential here. It needed more time to be developed better and structured better, but there is definitely potential here. And the juice alone, extracted from all of this, just envision here the molecules of the perfume floating in the air. Just as that, as invisible as it is, you can still smell it. And that's the magic of it. And just if you have it as those molecules in the air, on itself, a lot of potential. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this first impression / kind of review video of Gucci's Memoire D'UNE ODEUR. So we take it away. We have only the memory of it left. Ha! No visual, just the memory. Thumb up this video if you liked it. And let me know what you think about the video and the fragrance in the comment section down below. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together. Thank you so much to my patrons who have already pledged. Don't forget, guys, I also started a new series called Ask Dacob here on my YouTube channel where you call in live and talk to me. And we filmed that. Asking me questions or talking to me about whatever is on your mind. So that's something I'm looking forward to continuing in the future. What else is there to say? But in honor of the potential of Memoire D'UNE ODEUR, all we can say is never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.